Hi, my name is Tinwin.
My name is Beverly.
We are going to discuss the poem Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. War has been with man since the beginning of civilization. During the worst of times, there has always been hope of the end of war. In our current time, we have multiple wars occurring. We are hoping for a certain outcome in these wars and an end for all wars. In Emily Dickinson's Hope is the Thing with Feathers, she shows that hope is strongest in our worst times and that it penetrates deep into our souls and warms our hearts. For me, I hope that we can achieve world peace and that we will never have war again. Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chilliest land and on the strangest sea, yet never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. I like Hope is the Thing with Feathers because of the metaphor that is used, which relates hope to a bird. In the first line, the poem states that hope is a bird, and the later lines state that the bird lands on us and brings us its song. I also like it because the usage of hope being a bird gives a sense that hope is pulling us out of despair. The usage of an anaphora brings emphasis to lines 3 through 6, which emphasizes that hope is the strongest under the worst situations. On line 5, the poem states, and sweetest in the gale is heard. There is no rhyming in the first stanza, more rhyming in the second stanza, and the most rhyming in the last stanza, which brings attention to the final stanza. The final stanza states that hope can be heard anywhere and that hope never wants anything from us.
Hope is the Thing with Feathers provides readers with reassurance, gratitude, and a more optimistic outlook, especially during times of struggle. Dickinson illustrates hope as a bird that never stops singing and keeping us warm in our souls, even in a storm or gale. She also points out in the last lines of her poem that hope will always be within us, but will never ask for anything in return. This poem gives me faith that I will be able to overcome the difficulties in my life as long as I keep singing or staying positive. Emily Dickinson was an American lyric poet born in 1830 in Massachusetts. She was raised in a Protestant environment that placed great importance on religious rules and social codes. Dickinson ultimately rejected religion, but her religious upbringing was often reflected in her poetry through her lyrical tones and rhythms. She lived her life in nearly complete isolation from the outside world, resulting in her poetry often focusing on internal struggles. Her poems were usually lyrics, short poems with a single speaker that expressed their thoughts and emotions. Many of her poems didn't have a title. Dickinson followed common meter and Hope is the Thing with Feathers and many of her other poems. She gained popularity due to her bold and uninhibited writing. Dickinson's poetry also frequently reflected a connection with nature, which became a symbol of the complexity of her relationships. She wrote Hope is the Thing with Feathers in the 1860s, when America was in a period of upheaval during the Civil War. Dickinson was also experiencing an emotional crisis, struggling with her identity, inspiring her to write prolifically. Hope is the Thing with Feathers provided a hopeful view of humanity, even during the Civil War and her emotional crisis, reminding readers that hope is always inside of us, even during our most difficult times. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Hope is the Thing with Feathers is a lyric poem by Emily Dickinson. It can be read on Poetry Foundation. We use Soundtrap to create our music and podcast. We would also like to thank the following: World Journal of Research and Review, EnglishForLearner.com, Government Arts College for Women, Britannica, Encyclopedia.com, and Brooklyn Museum.